This exercise we're going to talk about is 8-8-16. A couple goals with this exercise. We obviously want to just warm up the hands, get nice and loose, relax. We're trying to work on have a very open, relaxed sound, and we're trying to get just a consistent approach to the drum with a very simple exercise. One of the goals with this is to get a very open, relaxed, big sound out of the drum. We want to make sure that the stick is able to resonate when we hit the drum. The drum head, the drum all want to resonate and vibrate. So when you hit the drum, make sure you're not squeezing the sound out of the drum. You can hear when the drumline is playing with a good, open, full sound out of the drum, it's a huge difference right away. Just even by myself, you can hear the difference between if I'm squeezing the stick and if I relax my hands. Now imagine a whole drumline playing with a relaxed hands and a relaxed approach. When we play this exercise, we want to make sure that we have enough energy into the drum and move the stick at a high speed or a high velocity so that stick can come all the way back up. We want to move the stick quickly so we get a big sound out of the drum. So it's not just about the height that you play into the drum, it's about the energy into the drum that creates the sound and it creates the volume. So don't be afraid to move the stick quickly. A big part of this exercise is teaching you efficiency, how to get efficient rebound out of the stick and how to make sure that we're not wasting any energy. In the long run, that's going to really pay off when we get to something a little bit more advanced, so we know how to bounce the stick nice and smoothly and we're not fighting the rebound. So when you play this exercise, make sure you watch the stick come back up off the drum too, and make sure it looks just as smooth as when it comes down. Another thing to watch out for is attacking that first note with a little bit too much velocity. You want to make sure that first stroke feels just the same. You want to make sure that everything starts and ends exactly the same way, and there's no changes in your approach to the drum. Something to take a look at with your hands when you play, don't be afraid to start with a little bit more loose hands. Keep your fingers nice and relaxed to start, just to learn how to rebound the stick. Sometimes I like to take my fingers all off and just make sure the stick rebounds fully. And then after that, as I get more control, I get those back fingers engaged onto the stick. And I make sure that my fingers don't get in the way of the stick. They're just on there for the ride. They're not trying to change anything about the rebound. They're just part of the motion. When you play this exercise, you're going to probably mostly use your wrist, but your fingers will move with the stick, and that's fine. Your arm's going to move a little bit. That's fine. Focus on turning your wrist. Think more about throwing a ball. You're just going to throw the ball. Your wrist is going to move, your arm's going to move, your fingers are going to move, and they all kind of work together. It's going to change on every tempo that you play. As you get faster, your wrist is probably going to do more work. When we get slower, your arm might help a little bit more. That's okay. Just focus on those main bullet points. Get the stick to rebound, get a high velocity, keep your hands relaxed, and this is going to help you on your way. When we play this, we're going to rebound every stroke until the last note, and the last note is going to stop back down into our playing position. So you're going to see the stick in full motion, then stop on both hands. And the goal is, no matter what, whether we rebound or when we stop, every note sounds the same. One of the most common errors is as we switch hands, When we freeze the stick down, we add an inflection. There's an accent at the end. We want to make sure every note feels exactly the same, and we have a little more consistent approach to the drum, and we don't squeeze that stick at the end of every stroke. We play high, we play with a big sound a lot of times to stretch out the hands, but we also need to work the opposite end of the spectrum. We need to play nice and low and very controlled as well. And this is something that every drumline needs to spend time doing, especially with the basics program. When we play low, we call it level 1, we call it piano, we call it tap level, different depending on which group. But the essential idea is to play low with the same bullet points. We want to play low with a strong sound in the drum. We still want everything to resonate. We just want the volumes to back off, and we want to play a little more controlled. So when playing low, there's a lot of the same concepts, but we kind of have to hold on to the stick a little bit more and make sure that we're in control of the stick. As we play lower, we go from high, super relaxed. But when we get lower, if we play with that same relaxation, the stick gets away from us. So when we play lower, we kind of have to firm up our hand just a little bit more. Don't squeeze the stick, but just firm up your hand so you have control over the stick, especially at these slower tempos. And that's going to enable you to control the stick, control the rebound, control the rhythm and the time, but still be able to get a relaxed sound out of that drum head. When we are playing low, we want to think about keeping our fingers a little bit closer to the inside of our hand. So we want to minimize this space right here. You still want a little breathing room, but just enough so the stick can actually bounce, but you're not fighting the rebound at all. You're going to have less rebound just because it's a lower height. You're going to have less velocity in the drum naturally. You're going to have less room to work with. It's actually a lot harder to play low consistently with a good sound than it is to play high. So that's something you should always spend time working on a little bit more. When we do play low, you're probably going to end up focusing a little bit more on these smaller muscle groups. Your wrist, your fingers will be a little bit engaged, but realistically at these slower tempos, you're probably going to feel your wrists doing most of the control, and it's just going to be small little wrist knocks. So one thing we want to watch out for is when we play low, we want to play softer, but if you play too relaxed and not enough energy into the drum, we get feather tapping. You get this very light sound off the drum head, which is light, it's quiet, but it doesn't project anywhere. You don't get that sound to the audience a lot of times. So we still want to make sure we have enough velocity into the drum. Your wrist is still moving at a fast enough speed so you can get the sound not just to the top head, but you want to make sure the whole drum is still able to resonate a little bit. So at these lower heights, especially at slower tempos, you want to watch out. You want to make sure that you can still get sound out of that drum. It is very easy at slow tempos to have a very weak sound, and frankly the stick will get away from you and you'll start rushing. So something to focus on is firming up your grip. As long as you don't squeeze the stick, you still want that stick to bounce. But you want to make sure each stroke still has some sound out of it. So don't be afraid to move that wrist a little bit more at the slower tempos. So as the tempos change, it's never going to feel exactly the same. Let's say when we're shooting for forte. At a slow tempo, it's really easy to get a nice strong height out of the drum and a lot of energy. As the tempo gets faster, it's a lot more difficult to get that same height. The goal is still the sound. So as we get faster, we still want a forte sound. It's really easy to get faster and then just drop the volumes considerably. And then kind of back off everything. What we want to focus on is still getting a forte sound out of the drum. So don't be afraid to push yourself a little bit more and work on getting those heights up a little bit more, especially as you're developing yourself as an individual player. These faster tempos, as you move quicker, your muscle groups will change a little. At the slow tempo, it's easy for your arm and wrist to work together. As we get faster, you're going to have to move that lever just from your arm more to your wrists. To be able to get that stick to move quicker at a faster rate, but still get that forte sound. So as we get faster, focus a little bit more on that wrist turn and try to get the bead to move at a high height still, so you still get a lot of energy into the drum. Overall, to recap, when we play 8816, it's not an exercise we're just trying to warm up on. It's something that we're building the foundation of our technique for almost anything we'll play after this. So this is never an exercise that we just check off the box and we're done with and we just don't need to play anymore. It's something that most groups play every single rehearsal, at least for a few minutes. It's a great way to warm up, but it's a great way to reinforce techniques. So with those same bullet points, we focus on a consistent sound. We focus on a consistent rebound. Don't be afraid to use your eyes and your ears. Watch the sticks. Do they look the same? Are they moving the same way? And then, obviously, do they sound the same? From right to left hand, from each note, the first note to the last note, do they all sound the same? And that's something that we always have to reinforce. And it's a great way to wake up not just your hands, but your ears every day. So don't be afraid to practice this as much as possible at different volumes, different tempos, so you work the whole context of anything that you're going to play. And it's going to benefit you if you just keep doing it and you just keep reinforcing it.